the southwest corner of Utah and northern Arizona, Nevada. And we just rescue rental cars and overlanders and people who rent side by side. So we got a call for a half-ton Chevy truck that is stuck on Boulder Mountain. Last fall of 2019, it slid off the road.
We got a call for a broken razor that is stuck in Rattlesnake, and we're gonna go get it.
It is a beautiful morning. The rain stopped sometime in the night. We'll get them out.
For years, millions of fans have tuned into Matt's off-road recovery to watch a man with an unshakable smile and a heart of gold help stranded drivers out of impossible situations. Whether it was a Jeep stuck in the Utah desert or a truck buried in deep mud, Matt Wetzel always showed up, not just with his signature yellow rope and towing gear, but with kindness, humor, and humility that made viewers feel like they were right there beside him. But behind that confident grin and adventurous spirit, there's a story that most fans never saw. One filled with personal sacrifice, emotional hardship, and moments that would break even the strongest of hearts. Matt's journey didn't begin with fame or fortune. Before YouTube, before the millions of subscribers, and before his rescue crew became internet legends, Matt was just a small-town man trying to make ends meet. He had always loved helping people, that was his nature, but turning that passion into a business was a constant uphill climb. Long days, brutal weather, and endless financial stress took their toll. Yet Matt kept going because deep down he believed that his mission wasn't just about rescuing cars. It was about rescuing people's spirits, showing them that no one is ever truly stuck. When Matt's off-road recovery began to take off, it looked like everything had finally fallen into place. His infectious personality drew in millions of views, his team became like family, and fans around the world saw him as the face of selflessness and hard work. But the fame came with its own price, and it was heavier than anyone could have imagined. As the channel grew, so did the expectations, and Matt found himself caught between being a business owner, a father, and a symbol of hope for his fans. The pressure was relentless. Then came the moment that would change everything. In 2021, news broke that Matt was facing serious legal trouble, accused of insurance fraud connected to his towing business. For fans who had seen him as a man of integrity, the headlines felt like a punch to the gut. Overnight, the internet was divided. Some defended him fiercely, believing in his honesty, while others were quick to judge. For Matt, it was a devastating blow, not just to his reputation, but to his spirit. He had built his entire career on trust and goodwill, and now that foundation was being tested like never before. As the investigation unfolded, Matt stayed mostly silent. He didn't lash out or make dramatic statements. Instead, he kept doing what he always did, helping people. Behind the scenes, though, the emotional toll was immense. His family, friends, and loyal team stood by him, but even they could see the pain in his eyes. It wasn't just about proving his innocence. It was about preserving the belief that good people still exist, that doing the right thing is still worth it, even when the world turns against you. As the days turned into months, the weight of the accusations began to crush Matt from the inside. Every morning, he'd wake up with that same question echoing in his mind. Will people ever trust me again? For a man who had spent his entire life helping others, being painted as a villain was more painful than any physical burden he'd ever faced. He wasn't just fighting a legal battle. He was fighting to hold on to the very identity that had defined him for decades. Behind the cameras, Matt's world was unraveling. His business faced mounting financial pressure as sponsors hesitated to renew contracts. The endless online chatter, filled with harsh words and unfounded assumptions, left him and his family emotionally drained. Yet, in the middle of that chaos, something remarkable happened. The people who truly knew Matt, his crew, his family, his fans who had followed him from the very beginning, refused to abandon him. They filled the comment section with love and support, writing things like, "Matt, we know your heart. You've helped more people than we can count. Keep your head up." Those words became Matt's lifeline. When the cameras stopped rolling and the doubts crept in, it was the unwavering faith of his supporters that reminded him of who he was. Loretta, his wife, stood by him through every sleepless night. She reminded him that their story wasn't defined by a court case. It was defined by years of integrity, kindness, and the lives he'd changed. His team, too, refused to give up. Instead of walking away, they worked harder, sometimes pulling double shifts just to keep the business afloat. They knew that Matt would have done the same for them. When the truth finally began to surface, it revealed what many suspected all along, that the so-called fraud was a misunderstanding. A paperwork issue blown out of proportion by bureaucracy and sensational headlines. There was no malice, no intent to deceive, only a man trying to navigate the complicated world of insurance policies while running a small-town recovery business. When the charges were eventually dropped, it wasn't just a legal victory. It was a moment of emotional vindication. Matt could finally breathe again, but the experience changed him. It stripped away the illusion that good deeds always shield you from pain. Matt realized that even the most honest hearts can be misunderstood, that sometimes life tests you not to punish you, but to strengthen your purpose. And for Matt, that purpose became clearer than ever, to continue helping people, not just out of ditches, but out of despair. He came back to YouTube with a renewed sense of humility. His smile was still there, but behind it was a man who had seen darkness and chosen light. Fans noticed the difference immediately. His videos began carrying a deeper message, one about perseverance, resilience, and faith. He wasn't just rescuing vehicles anymore. He was inspiring millions to keep moving forward no matter how stuck life seemed. After the storm settled, Matt found himself standing at a crossroads. He could have quietly faded away, letting the weight of public opinion define him. But that wasn't who he was. Matt had built Matt's off-road recovery on grit, honesty, and heart. The same qualities that had carried him through every muddy trail and near-impossible rescue. So instead of hiding, he turned the camera back on, hit record, and faced his audience with pure vulnerability. When the video went live, fans saw a different side of Matt. There was no dramatic music, no flashy editing, just him, sitting in his familiar yellow tow truck, eyes tired but determined. "I've made mistakes," he said softly, "but I've learned more about faith, family, and forgiveness than I ever thought I would." His voice cracked halfway through, but he didn't edit it out. He wanted people to see the truth, not the internet version of him, but the real Matt. And that moment changed everything. Comments flooded in by the thousands. People from all over the world shared their own stories of struggle, redemption, and unfair judgment. The connection between Matt and his fans grew stronger than ever before. It wasn't just about watching him pull cars out of the sand anymore. It was about watching a man rise from the ashes with humility and strength. That authenticity became the heart of his comeback. Business slowly picked up again. More people began reaching out, not just for vehicle recoveries, but to thank him for being a symbol of hope. Local families stopped by his shop to shake his hand. A few even said that watching his journey helped them get through their own hard times. For Matt, that meant more than any YouTube milestone or viral view count ever could. He realized that his purpose went beyond the fame. It was about reminding others that even when life buries you in doubt, you can dig your way out. His team, Rudy, Ed, and the rest of the crew noticed the change too. Matt wasn't just their boss anymore. He was their mentor, their friend, their proof that even the hardest hits can't crush a man who refuses to give up. They began filming more than just recoveries. They showed behind-the-scenes moments of laughter, long drives, and heartfelt talks. The fans loved it. They weren't just watching a show. They were part of a family. But even as life started to feel normal again, Matt couldn't shake off the memories of those dark months. Late at night, when the world was quiet, he'd replay it all. The accusations, the headlines, the fear of losing everything. Yet, instead of bitterness, he felt gratitude. Gratitude for the people who stood by him when it seemed like the whole world had turned away. Gratitude for the lessons that pain had taught him about patience, humility, and faith. He started talking more openly about mental strength and forgiveness, telling fans that strength isn't about avoiding hardship, it's about enduring it with grace. He became a quiet inspiration, not by preaching, but by living. And soon, Matt's off-road recovery wasn't just a YouTube channel anymore. It was a story of resilience that touched millions of hearts. But there was still one more turning point coming. Something that would test Matt's spirit again. But this time, in a way no one expected. It wasn't about the law, fame, or reputation. It was about something far deeper: life, mortality, and the legacy he'd one day leave behind. Just when it seemed like peace had returned to Matt's world, life threw him another curveball, one that cut deeper than any scandal ever could. It began quietly, with Ed, the lovable, loyal friend who'd been with Matt through every rescue and every storm. Fans had come to adore Ed's humor, his calm presence, and the way he balanced Matt's energy with his own grounded spirit. But one day, Ed wasn't at the shop. He wasn't out on the trail, joking through the radio. He was in a hospital bed, fighting a battle far tougher than any recovery mission. When Matt walked into that hospital room for the first time, the sight nearly broke him. Ed, usually full of life and laughter, lay pale and weak, hooked up to machines. For a moment, Matt just stood there, struggling to find words. Finally, he whispered, "Hey, buddy, we've got a lot of cars still stuck out there. You can't quit on me yet." Ed smiled faintly, that same smile that had carried them through countless long days, and simply said, "You'll manage, Matt. You always do." That visit changed Matt. He began filming less, spending more time with Ed, sitting beside his bed, talking about everything and nothing, old recoveries, long drives, the funny moments fans never saw. Those conversations became sacred, a reminder that no amount of success could ever replace the people who stood beside you when no one else would. When the heartbreaking day came and Ed passed away, the Matt's off-road recovery family, both on-screen and off, fell silent. Fans flooded social media with messages of love, shock, and sorrow. Matt didn't post right away. He couldn't. How do you summarize a loss like that in a caption? How do you say goodbye to a man who wasn't just your friend, but your brother in spirit? When he finally did speak, it was through a simple, raw video titled, "Thank You, Ed." There were no edits, no music, no dramatic visuals, just Matt sitting in his tow truck, voice trembling. "I don't have the right words," he said, tears welling up. "But I can tell you this. Ed made me a better man. He made all of us better." That video became one of the most emotional moments in the channel's history. Fans cried, left heartfelt tributes, and shared how Ed's quiet strength had touched their lives. It wasn't just the story of a man who recovered vehicles anymore. It was the story of a family who faced loss with love and courage. In the weeks that followed, Matt struggled to get back to work. Every recovery felt a little emptier without Ed's laughter echoing through the radio. But then something incredible began to happen. The community Ed had helped build stepped in to fill the silence. Fans sent letters, gifts, even handmade memorial plaques. One family mailed a wooden sign that read, "Keep recovering. Ed's still watching." Matt hung it on the wall of the shop, right where Ed used to stand during morning briefings. In that moment, Matt realized something profound. Ed may have been gone, but his spirit wasn't. Every pull, every mission, every act of kindness carried his legacy forward. And that's when Matt understood that recovery wasn't just about pulling cars out of ditches. It was about pulling hearts out of grief, one day at a time. Through Ed's loss, Matt found a deeper connection with his purpose. The channel transformed. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It became a source of comfort, a reminder that even in tragedy, life offers moments of healing. And that's what kept Matt going, even when it hurt to smile. After Ed's passing, the shop felt different. His laughter no longer bounced off the walls, and his chair in the corner sat empty, a silent reminder of the man who had given so much heart to their journey. For a while, Matt struggled to find motivation. He'd walk into the garage, see Ed's old tools hanging untouched, and have to step back just to hold himself together. But deep down, he knew that if Ed were still there, he'd be telling him to stop grieving and get back to doing what they both loved, helping people. So Matt made a decision that would redefine everything. He wanted to honor Ed not by mourning him, but by building something that would carry his memory forward. That's when the idea for the Ed Foundation was born, a small, heartfelt project dedicated to helping stranded drivers who couldn't afford recovery costs. "Ed was always about helping people first," Matt said in a video announcing the project. "So now, we're going to keep doing that, in his name." The response from fans was overwhelming. Donations poured in from around the world, small contributions, heartfelt notes, even handwritten stories about how Matt's off-road recovery had inspired them to help others. Within weeks, the foundation became a symbol of hope. Matt and his crew started offering free recoveries to families in crisis, people stuck in dangerous spots with no one to call. And every time they pulled someone out, Matt would quietly whisper, "That one's for you, Ed." This mission reignited something inside him. The team noticed it too. A fire, a sense of purpose that felt bigger than YouTube. Rudy once said in an interview, "After Ed passed, we weren't just fixing vehicles anymore. We were fixing hearts." And fans felt that transformation deeply. The comment sections became filled with gratitude, not just for the recoveries, but for the message behind them, that no matter how far gone you think you are, there's always someone willing to pull you back to solid ground. Matt began traveling beyond Utah, visiting fans, filming recoveries across states, and sharing stories of kindness that often went unnoticed. Each journey reminded him of how far they'd come, from a small-town recovery crew to a global family bonded by compassion. His videos took on a documentary tone, slower, more emotional, focused not just on the action, but on the human stories behind each rescue. But even as his mission grew, Matt stayed humble. He still drove the same truck, wore the same hat, and kept his feet planted in the same red dirt that had started it all. When interviewers asked him about his success, he always gave the same answer. "It's not about the fame. It's about doing good and being grateful while you can." Through every challenge, the false accusations, the heartbreak of losing Ed, the sleepless nights of rebuilding, Matt emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. He turned pain into purpose and failure into faith. And though he rarely said it out loud, everyone close to him knew. The man who once pulled cars out of mud had learned how to pull souls out of darkness. As Matt's off-road recovery continued to grow, fans noticed something new at the end of each video. A short, heartfelt line that appeared on screen just before the credits. "In memory of Ed, because recovery is more than what you see." That line became his legacy. And for every fan who watched, it became a quiet reminder that no matter how lost life gets, there's always a road back and someone willing to help you find it. As the years went by, Matt's off-road recovery became more than a YouTube channel. It became a symbol of resilience, kindness, and the quiet strength that comes from doing the right thing when no one's watching. Matt often said that the channel wasn't about fame or money, but about showing the world what real teamwork, humility, and heart looked like in action. Every pull, every recovery, every laugh shared with his crew was a reminder that life's toughest moments could still carry grace if you faced them with integrity. Fans saw that growth in Matt himself. The man who once looked exhausted under the desert sun now carried a calmness that could only come from acceptance. He had faced loss, betrayal, and hardship, yet each trial seemed to carve his soul into something stronger, something purer. "You can't control what happens to you," Matt once said in a video that went viral, "but you can control how you respond. You can always choose to pull forward." Those words resonated deeply with millions. But behind the scenes, Matt's personal life changed too. He became more private, more reflective. He'd spend evenings sitting in the garage alone, the smell of oil and dust lingering in the air, thinking about all the lives that had crossed his path. Sometimes he'd play old clips of Ed laughing beside him, the kind of laughter that could fill a room. Other times, he'd watch footage of complete strangers they'd helped, people hugging, crying, smiling through the tears, and realize that this, right here, was his true calling. Not fame, not success, but the healing that comes from helping others. One particular story stands out. A single mother's car had broken down in the middle of a desolate Utah trail. She had no cell service, no backup plan, and 2 young children in the back seat. Hours passed before a passing biker found her and called Matt's crew. They arrived in the dead of night, headlights cutting through the dust. Matt worked silently, carefully, as the mother held her crying kids. When the car finally started again, she broke down in tears, not just because she was safe, but because someone had cared enough to come. That night, as Matt drove back home, he couldn't stop thinking, this is what recovery really means. Moments like that reminded him why he started it all. Not for clicks, not for recognition, but for humanity. Every rescue, every grateful smile was a reminder that kindness was the one thing that never ran out of gas. And though the fame kept growing, Matt never let it change him. He refused sponsorships that didn't align with his values, kept his team close like family, and always made sure to highlight the people around him more than himself. As he turned toward his future, Matt began talking about the next generation. His dream wasn't just to run recoveries, it was to inspire others to do good in whatever way they could. He started teaching younger volunteers about mechanical work, recovery safety, and integrity. He wanted them to see that even small acts of help could create ripple effects that stretched far beyond what the eye could see. If one person watches our video and decides to stop and help someone on the side of the road, Matt said, then we've done something that matters. The beauty of Matt's off-road recovery is that it mirrors life itself. Sometimes you get stuck. Sometimes you need help, and sometimes you have to dig deep and keep pulling forward until you find solid ground again. Through it all, Matt has shown the world that strength isn't measured by how much you can lift, but by how much you can give when life weighs you down. Today, millions of fans around the world don't just see Matt as a mechanic or YouTuber. They see him as a man who turned hardship into hope. A man who lost his friend, faced his failures, and still found the courage to smile, to rebuild, and to keep helping. His story isn't just about recovery. It's about redemption. And as the sun sets over the red canyons of Utah, you can almost picture Matt standing beside his truck, the wind tugging at his shirt, his face lit by the golden light. He looks into the horizon, where sky meets rock, where dust meets dusk, and smiles quietly to himself. Because he knows deep down that Ed would be proud. The truth is, Matt once said softly, we're all stuck sometimes, but if we pull together, there's no place we can't get out of. And with that, the legend of Matt, the man who found faith through recovery, continues to inspire the world, one story at a time.